Hey guys, welcome on into today's video where we're going to be doing another presidential prediction map here for 2020. And in this video, going to be doing Cory Booker on the Democrat side and incumbent Republican President Donald Trump on the Republican side. Going to be giving Booker the blue states, Trump the red states. I also brought up some historical data. You can see that on the right-hand side of the screen. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the 2016 general election, where the red states are Donald Trump and the darker red states being ones that Trump flipped over to the Republicans after they had been Democrat in the prior presidential election cycle in 2012. And then I also brought up the 2008 map with the blue states being Obama, the red states being John McCain. I felt like that was also a fairly relevant map to bring up because you had a situation where you had a Republican president prior to that going in to 2008, just like we're going to be having a Republican president right now going into the 2020 presidential election. And that 2008 map is probably about as good as a map can get for a Democratic candidate. And with Trump right now, with his approval rating hovering right around the upper 30s to mid 40s range, he finds himself in a situation where it's going to be really tough battling in a number of these states that were very competitive in 2016, especially if he's facing a tougher candidate than Hillary Clinton. Of course, going to that 2016 general election, both Trump and Clinton were the least favorable politicians in the history of presidential elections going into that 2016 bid. So Cory Booker, the challenger here, his negative is the fact that he doesn't have as much name recognition across the scope of the country in comparison to some other candidates that could possibly run on the Democratic ticket, like Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders, for instance. And also, he's viewed as more of a corporate establishment Democrat, which certainly worked against a candidate like Hillary Clinton, for instance, in 2016. But Booker has been making progress on this front where he's gone on and signed on to the Medicare for All Bernie Sanders bill, trying to win over a bit more progressive support as he probably is gearing up for a run in 2020, possibly, or if not 2020, maybe the following election after that. And he's also sworn off corporate PAC money, which is another thing that's important to do if you're going to try and win a Democratic primary here upcoming in 2020. So starting off here, I'm going to be giving each candidate the states that I feel like are safely in their corner, and then going to be going through the more battleground states and how I think those might shape out. So starting off here, going to be giving Cory Booker his safe states, and those are going to be states such as Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, and then moving over to the Northeast, we're going to give him Maine, and we'll leave the 2nd congressional district up there in Maine for now. Also, I feel like safe states for him would be Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, of course, New Jersey, the state where he's a senator from, Delaware, Maryland, the District of Columbia, as well as New York, and then also the state of Illinois. And for now, those are going to be the states that I give the Democratic candidate here as safe results for him. Now I'm going to be going over and doing the same for Donald Trump on the Republican side. So those are going to include states like Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, and then Nebraska, except the 2nd congressional district, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. Also going to be giving him Texas in this scenario, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, especially if Mike Pence continues to be the vice president. There's no reason for us to think that he won't be in this scenario. And that's all the states I'm going to be giving him right now as what look to be pretty safe Republican states going into this hypothetical matchup. So now we're going to be talking about more of the battleground states and how they could shape up. So Nevada here, this is a state that's becoming more blue over the years. You can see even with Hillary Clinton going against Trump, Clinton was able to win this state by about 2.5 percentage points. Going back to when Obama won it in 2008, he won it by about 12 to 13 percentage points, which is pretty impressive considering John McCain from Arizona, which is a close proximity state to Nevada. Pretty impressive stuff there from Obama in 2008, but a state that looks like it continues to be going in a more blue direction. Even a really poor Democratic candidate like Clinton was able to go ahead and get that state against Donald Trump. Now, Arizona, another one of these southwestern states that's trending in a bit more of a Democratic direction as their demographics continue to shift a bit more, becoming more diversified. But still, I feel like Donald Trump has way more name recognition coming in as the incumbent, and that's going to be a big battle for Cory Booker in a lot of these competitive battleground type states. But at the end of the day, I feel like Trump would be able to continue to carry Arizona. And then you have Colorado, New Mexico, two states here as well over in the west-southwest region that are continuing to become a bit more Democrat as the years go on. We can see Clinton won New Mexico by about 8 percentage points, winning Colorado by about 5 percentage points. I feel like Cory Booker would be able to continue this blue trend in these states. And just going back to 2008 for interesting situation here with Obama winning it in New Mexico by about 14 to 15 percentage points, in Colorado by about 9 percentage points. So now we're going to be moving on here to the southeast. We'll touch on Georgia, a state that is also kind of trending in a bit more of a Democratic direction. We can see here Hillary Clinton only losing to Donald Trump by about 5 percentage points. A very large African-American population in Georgia, which would certainly help a candidate like Cory Booker in that Atlanta area where Democrats are continuing to do better, and a big population center in the state is making this a bit more of a competitive state in comparison to a lot of these other southeastern states. Georgia is almost kind of becoming like a Florida. Florida is a state that tends to lean a little bit to the Republican side. It's always very competitive in these elections. Looking back in 2008, Obama losing to McCain by about 5 percentage points. So Hillary Clinton performing about as well as Obama did in 2008. And 2008 was a much better year for Democratic candidates overall, where you can kind of see the shift that we're seeing in this particular state. And then also Obama winning Florida by about 1.5 percentage points in comparison to 2016, where Trump was able to win it by about a similar margin. But I feel like the incumbent Donald Trump would be able to come through, certainly in a state like Georgia, which is still leaning more in a Republican direction. And then also a state like Florida, I think it would be extremely close, maybe even a coin flip scenario. But in that kind of situation, I probably feel like Donald Trump would be able to just get over the line in a state like Florida as well. So now we're going to move up here to Virginia, which is another state that's kind of trending in a more Democratic direction. Hillary Clinton having Tim Kaine as the vice president certainly helped her in a state like Virginia. This is a state where Cory Booker might be a little bit more well-known than some of these other states out west as we head over to the East Coast, with Cory Booker being from New Jersey. We feel like Booker would be able to continue the trend that we're seeing here in a state like Virginia and picking that one up. And then North Carolina, another very competitive state. You can see here in 2016, Trump winning it by about 3.5 percentage points. Obama back in 2008 winning it by about 0.5 percentage point. So still a state that is slightly leaning in a Republican direction, but it can be very competitive in these presidential elections. With Trump being able to win it in 2016, maybe Cory Booker does a little bit better, making it even closer than that 3.5 percentage, but we still are going to feel a little bit more comfortable siding with Donald Trump in a state like North Carolina as well. And then moving to Missouri, you can see back in 2008, Obama losing it by about 0.1 percentage points, but Hillary Clinton absolutely getting dominated there. And for a Democrat to do well in a statewide election in Missouri, it has to be the right kind of candidate. And I see that being more like a Joe Biden, perhaps, or a Bernie Sanders. I'm not sure an establishment, corporate-type Democrat would do very well in Missouri. We saw Hillary Clinton really struggle there, and Cory Booker probably the same kind of struggles there. Wouldn't be surprised to see him lose by double-digit percentage points as well. So we're going to give that one over to Donald Trump. Then Nebraska, their second congressional district. It can lean more Republican, but it is possible for Democrats to win this particular district. But Trump was able to win it in 2016. I feel like he'd probably be able to do so again here in this election. In Maine, I feel like Cory Booker would be able to hold and carry that one as well. Moving down to New Hampshire, in terms of northeastern states, this is pretty much the Republicans' best shot at winning a state in this region. Clinton barely able to win New Hampshire just by 0.3 percentage points. But we look back at 2008, Obama faring quite well, winning by about 10 percentage points, a state that tends to lean in a more Democratic direction. We feel like Cory Booker would be able to carry New Hampshire as well. So now moving into the Midwest, where all of these elections seem to be decided, at least at this point in time. This was the area of the country where Donald Trump was able to do his most damage against Clinton, flipping states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So first I'm going to start with the states here in the Midwest that I think Trump will be able to win, and then I'm going to go over and do the same for Cory Booker, and then I'm going to be left with just the states that I see almost as a coin flip and give my reasoning by why I give those states to each candidate. So Iowa, Trump was able to carry it in 2016 by about 10 percentage points. Obama back in 2008 winning it himself by almost about 10 percentage points. So certainly a state that can swing one way or the other, and it really depends on the candidate. Booker might be able to keep things a little bit closer than Clinton was able to do in Iowa, but at the end of the day, I feel like Donald Trump would be able to carry Iowa again after doing so well there in 2016. Then also Ohio, kind of a similar scenario, Trump winning it by about 8 percentage points over Clinton. Back in 2008, Obama was able to win it by about 4 percentage points. And Ohio is one of those states that's kind of trending in a little bit more of a Republican direction, but certainly it's a purple state in a statewide election. Really, it depends on the candidate. You need a strong Democratic candidate to go on and win the state. We saw Obama was able to do that twice, and then Donald Trump flipping it over in 2016. But Trump doing so well in Ohio, winning by 8 percentage points, that's probably a big enough margin where he's able to keep this state in a hypothetical matchup against Cory Booker. And now a state that I think would probably be pretty safe over to Cory Booker, and that's going to be Minnesota. And in terms of Midwestern states, Illinois probably the only one that's a bit more Democratic than Minnesota. I feel like that's probably going to be over in his camp. So now we're down to the 3 states that were some of the closest results in 2016, ones that Trump was able to flip over from the Democrats, those being Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, states that are very important right now in these presidential elections. And currently we have Booker at 233 electoral votes, Trump at 259. So Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, I could really make a case to go either way with Booker or Donald Trump. And particularly Pennsylvania and Michigan, what's working in Cory Booker's favor is there's a much larger African-American vote in these states compared to a state like Wisconsin, which could be enough to push him over the line. We look back at the 2016 election, he lost Michigan by 0.3 percentage points. Hillary Clinton, that is, losing by 0.3 percentage points in Michigan, 0.7 percentage points in Pennsylvania, and 0.7 percentage points in Wisconsin. So it doesn't take a whole lot to potentially flip these states over to the Democrats. Hillary Clinton being a very poor candidate in 2016, perhaps Booker is able to have a message that resonates a little bit more with these voters. He is a bit more progressive, or at least becoming so, in comparison to a candidate like Hillary Clinton, which could help him out. But specifically in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, that African-American vote in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area, and in Michigan, in the Detroit area, with more enthusiasm, I see that those particular voters can make the difference in what was such a close election between Clinton and Trump back in 2016, where it's enough to probably get Cory Booker over the line in these 2 states. But Wisconsin, there's over 1 million less African Americans that live in the state of Wisconsin in comparison to Michigan and Pennsylvania. And Wisconsin is a state that doesn't necessarily love Donald Trump. He didn't do so hot in Wisconsin in the 2016 Republican primary. We see he was able to beat Clinton by just about 20 to 25,000 votes, so extremely close. And I could almost see this one going either way, but I'm going to go ahead and continue to give Trump the state of Wisconsin in this scenario. So at the end of the day, a hypothetical matchup between Cory Booker and Donald Trump, I have it at 269 to 269. And of course, if any of these states flip one way or the other, then you have that candidate winning in that scenario. But if it is 269 to 269, then it goes over to Congress. They would make the decision. If that decision was made today based on how Congress is currently made up, then Donald Trump would be able to win the presidency. But if we are going to get a blue wave in 2018 and going into 2020, that would give the Democrats potentially a better shot in that scenario. But right now, that's where I'm going to wrap up this video, guys. Booker, I don't think he's the best possible candidate for the Democrats in a hypothetical 2020 election because he just doesn't have quite the name recognition nationwide. It would take a lot of work for him to gain that going into the presidency. And then, of course, once you're running on the ticket as a president of the Democratic Party, that would help him get his name out there more, but it's still a big hurdle to climb in comparison to some other very favorable candidates that the Democrats could run, like a Bernie Sanders or a Joe Biden, who I think would have a lot more potential success in a 2020 matchup. So thanks, guys, for stopping on in for today's video. You can check out all of our election prediction videos over on our YouTube channel. Subscribe for more, and we hope to see you guys back here for future videos. Bye.